Hey guys, JCB here. I would like to discuss with you on my experience with Ereban Shadow Legacy. We start with the intro as Helios found a solution for everyone during the Power Wars by being able to harness the renewable energy source of the sun Khepri. This follows up with the main character Ayana being invited to their facility as they have interest in her for some reason. Next, we get to control her around and speak with the nearby NPCs until we meet a particular worker who is astonished to find an Ereban such as ourselves here. This main trait becomes an important part to the plot as she is the last survivor of the race and wants to find answers on what led to their disappearance. Afterwards, we get to speak with Nascent, who is an AI in charge here, as they would want us to take a test and become one of their agents. This lets us get to use our abilities as we are able to interact with the darkness by slipping through the shadows. This creates the stealth gameplay to remain undetected in various scenarios and creating pathways for ourselves to proceed on. However, there is a catch to this of being able to use it for a limited time, and any contact with the light reverts us back to our normal form. The concept is amazing for having superpowers that only works in certain conditions. As we go on further, we get to learn more about the history behind Helios. Even though this was optional to look around, it provides extra lore without needing to fully overstay its welcome. I personally did like hearing more of it because it feeds more context to the background of the story and what we can expect later when dealing with them. Another part during our test is learning about the gadgets and the shadow powers we are able to equip. These will be essential to provide us extra options for surveying the area and using them to engage the best way possible. Extra upgrades can be rewarded based on exploration in the later chapters by finding shadow orbs and other items that can provide better ease of use in future scenarios. As the test draws to its end, their real intentions get revealed as they want to capture us. Luckily, we are able to escape, and by using our abilities, we need to get past these security bots and find a way out. Their method of stopping us would be having a light sensor to prevent us from using our powers. From this, we could either sneak past them or shut their systems down to proceed on. Once that section is done, we get saved by another person and the chapter ends. This allows us to see the results on how well we did on everything. But before we do start the next chapter, we are provided with a notice that tells us the powers and gadgets obtained will be locked and we can choose to replay the chapter again. This is due to how the game is based on different decisions made from our actions which will affect our choices in the end. With the start of chapter 2 and onwards, we get to learn more about the person who saved us, Mira, who is a part of the Forgotten Sons, and they are determined to stop Helios. This becomes greater in detail when we get introduced to their leader Set and they offer us a deal to help them out, and we get to learn more about the Ereban race. This starts to see Ayana's trust to be put onto others, but at the same time, seeing her main purpose coming first before anything else. One of the things I personally enjoyed during these chapters is the level design. They cycle through different layouts based on the missions we are planning to do, as some could feel limited with smaller spaces on how to get past these security bots, and others expand on the area on being able to scope out a larger environment. With further exploration, this could lead on to completing side missions that will provide extra rewards to help us in the future. Another part in these sections that plays out well is when we engage with the enemies. At first, it felt basic of slipping through nearby shadows and choosing whether to interact with them. This becomes expanded upon after gaining new abilities and upgrades to create multiple scenarios to our liking. Even though this makes things easier, I still enjoyed the idea of how strong an Ereban can become which corresponds greatly to her importance in the story. Another element that plays a huge part in these sections are the workers of Helios. They are sometimes found among security bots in the area, and we can choose whether to interact with them. This will influence our lethality meter, and it will affect our choices in the end. I chose to avoid them at all costs, and sometimes they can still have involvement with being able to signal others if they have spotted something strange. This also has an effect to our ranking at the end of the chapter, so we must make sure our actions can't be easily found out. Nearby the end of the chapters, we sometimes get new shadow powers by making contact with another Ereban. They give us two choices to choose from that could help us more on how we want to engage in different situations. One of my favorites I enjoyed using would be the Shadow Tomb, as you can completely send the body to another dimension that others can't detect. Even though I get the concept of having multiple playthroughs to use the other powers not selected, I still would have preferred a New Game Plus feature that would have granted us all these shadow powers to be used at any time. Other than using our abilities for stealth, there are other features such as platforming and puzzles. The platforming sections vary on if we need to use our powers for a certain time or casually finding our way forward without finding them. These sections could also create new angles to be avoiding enemies or finding a better opening to take them out. As for the puzzle sections, there was some layer introduced that tried to change things up by stepping on switches in a certain order or going through a chain of workers on finding a way further into the building. Even though I do admire the new ideas of doing something fresh, I would have preferred seeing this being done more often during the game. Lastly, I completed the game in around 11 hours, and given all of my actions that led up to the last decision, it felt as though that there was always a tipping scale of gaining a sweet victory, but also losing another thing that is worth of value. Seeing this was the emphasis laid out into the story of choosing what's best for ourselves, it leaves me wanting more to discover if I could find a better conclusion rather than being satisfied with what I got in the end. Overall, Ereban Shadow Legacy provides a unique gameplay concept while being able to expand further as the story goes on. If any of you guys have any experiences with this game, feel free to share in the comments, and I hope you have a wonderful day.